All right, a pleasant, almost early Saturday morning, but good Friday evening still to you and to yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network. I'm hoarse because I had the game of the night for once. I didn't get a running clock game, and I was at Rockledge tonight at Chuck Woodfield McClarty Stadium for an absolute thriller of a football game, and it felt fabulous to be back at Chuck Woodfield broadcasting again tonight. And this is the Uberzati post-game show, and tonight's broadcast, of course, sponsored by Uberzati, also sponsored by Chrissy Lindbeck, and we'd like to thank both the real estate expert and Uberzati. Joining me tonight, it'll be the last time this year you see this combination sitting at this table right here, but please welcome to the left, heading off to the University of Florida, Gainesville on Sunday. He is Florida Gator freshman Jackson Robb. And off to the right, he is back in the broadcast booth for Brevard Sports Network. I almost said the Friday night locker room because that's where we started. I swear I almost said that. He is my good friend, and I couldn't be more thrilled to have him back. Anthony Knockreiner, and of course back there with the microphone in his hand, the man, the myth, the living legend, the guy that puts all of this together, Mr. Caleb Brown. Gentlemen, let's just run through the scoreboard here real quick. It's on the screen. I'm going to need that back as long as everybody's good. All right, so here is the scoreboard. Rockledge 37, Heritage 34, Vieira, or Cocoa 16, Bradford 7, Vieira 52, Palm Bay 20, Melbourne 49. I got Melbourne 49, Melbourne nothing, but it's Melbourne 49, Pine Ridge nothing. Look, it's kickoff classic. It's preseason for me too, so hang in there. I know. It says Melbourne versus Melbourne. Titusville with a big win over Sebastian River, 47-7. O'Galley with a nice win over Plantation. That says 38-25. It's 38-24. Knock, you had a score on Merritt Island and Fort Pierce Central, right?
Yeah, it was 36-16, according to someone covering the game for Fort Pierce Central.
And Holy Trinity fell tonight, 36-14 to St. John Paul Academy II. And Cocoa Beach with a win over Father Lopez, 31-14. And then in SSAA Week 1 action last night, Satellite all over Oak Ridge, 38-0. The defending SSAA 1A state champs, Space Coast, picked up right where they started or ended, 59-0 over Cedar Creek. St. Edwards, 21, I believe it was, let me double check that score here. I got it, 20-12. It's 20-12 is the score. Merritt Island Christian, they keep on rolling, 38-14 game called because of lightning, and the Calvary Christian Chapel Eagles, their opponent, dropped the game. Program disbanded. Caleb, let's start real quick with the SSAA. You were at Satellite last night. You saw that game. What impressed you about the Satellite Scorpions?
Listen, they had a complete team game. The Danberg game plan worked from A to Z. Run the football, typical Danberg offense, but you saw more passing, and he went to that play action. Noah Corvu, remember that name, especially if you followed youth football. You do know that name. He's going to be a star at the high school level. Preston Kennedy is going to be a kicker you're going to hear about. And Brody Grennan was dropping all sorts of dimes when he did throw the football. A couple overthrows, but nothing that some practice and, it will do. Other than that, great team defense. And the best part of the game, their open field tackling. They actually wrapped up and took guys to the ground. That's something you don't see a lot of anymore.
Space Coast scored in every phase of the football game last night. Junior Fighter, the Palm Bay transfer, up to Space Coast, punt return touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. Zion Sandy Jackson, he's doing it again. I think he had 5 total touchdowns last night, 4 through the air, 1 on the ground. This is a special kid. He's young, and I tell you what, he's something else.
Yeah, I mean, been all over Zion Sandy since I first saw him last year, and I think Space Ghost is reloaded, ready to go again and defend the state title. I think Jake Owens and everybody up there is doing it right, as I talked about in past with the Sunshine State Athletic Association, but I think they're a team that's reloaded already. You talk about a long plan to retool, but they're right up and going now. 59-0, that's kind of the ways that they were losing in past years, but now that's them winning those games. Junior Fighter's a big transfer that I'm going to want to keep an eye on all year long as well. So very impressed by Space Coast again. But again, you're coming off a state championship. That's kind of the new expectation that hasn't been that way really ever.
Knock, you had a sort of a homecoming game, I guess, of sorts tonight. Now, it's not the first time Kevin Mays has gone against his former team, the Vieira Hawks. When Kevin was at Baker County, I believe Vieira beat him twice up at Baker County. I know I was up there for one game. No, I think they went 1-1. Might have been 1-1.
I think they did want to go
1-1. Okay, 1-1. I did the game up at Baker County. Great place to watch high school football. But tonight, thanks to Brian Crowley, and we had a great spot in the press box tonight. Everything was just beautiful for kickoff classic action. Tony Gullah told me before the season started that in order for his football team to be successful this year, they were going to have to rely on a veteran offense to start this.
Yeah.
So kind of take us through this one tonight. What did you see? Talk about it a little bit.
I think Vieira's got a very, very potent offense. Eric Nelson has complete command of that offense at the quarterback position.
What are they running?
I don't know exactly what to call it because it's the shotgun triple option because he had options all over the place. You would think that Eric Nelson's going to run it. Well, then there's Jonah Woodruff sitting right on the sideline in the flats, and Jonah Woodruff.
Love Jonah.
He goes for 20 yards. You got the same thing. I'm trying to think. Sean Hartman had a couple of pass plays that way.
He's another
as well.
athlete.
Gabe Friedman had a great touchdown pass tonight, too. And then running the football as well made life very difficult for that Palm Bay defense because between Schmadeke as well as Duke Butler, those guys
grown man as a freshman.
Exactly. He was huge. I saw him on the field. He is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And but they've got two really good backs. That offensive line was able to do a lot of really nice things. Like I said, Vieira's offense is definitely impressive. There is one aspect, and I'm sure Coach Tony Gula is going to talk about it as well, penalties. Caleb and I were talking about they had to have north of 100 yards in penalties.
Are they kickoff classic penalties or are they undisciplined penalties?
Undisciplined penalties. I think we had a couple of unsportsmanlike penalties that really stalled out some plays. But other than that, I think Vieira really did some nice things offensively and defensively. That transfer, Brian Veal, the defensive end, 2 sacks tonight. A lot of pressure coming from him off the edge from South Carolina. That kid's going to be a ball player.
Now, I mean no disrespect to anybody in Palm Bay, but numbers are numbers and stats are stats. Last year, I think they scored 3 or 4 touchdowns all year. Mm-hmm. They put 20 points on the board tonight. Yep. That's a positive for a program. And look, Kevin Mays is retooling, reloading, rebuilding this program, the culture, the pride, all of it. What did you see from Palm Bay tonight?
I think Palm Bay looked pretty good tonight. The problem is 3 out of their first 4 drives ended in turnovers. One was a pick 6 by linebacker James Olson, and the second drive where
Another
they scored
beast for Vieira.
Exactly. And the funny thing is the second drive that was set up for Palm Bay, they had an 89-yard kick return by Caden Newton, and he set him up, and he had a great return game. That return game from Palm Bay is dangerous because he set them up at the 2-yard line. It was a Harris touchdown run for Palm Bay. It was 7-7. Then it was the turnovers that kind of snowballed. And Palm Bay with Zades at quarterback, when he had time and he could get the receivers behind the Vieira's defense, they had an 80-yard touchdown bomb to Thompson, and he was able to take it the distance. And there was a 50-yard touchdown pass to Caden Newton as well. And so Palm Bay's got some pieces. They've got some building blocks that they got to go along with. But I think there were some real positives, but they didn't have the firepower to match with Vieira tonight. Not with the mistakes they made.
Vieira next week with an interesting one you're going to see right here on the network. They're gonna host Rockledge in the Backyard Brawl. It's a game Rockledge is dominated, but a winnable game for Vieira next week. And as far as the Palm Bay Pirates, are concerned. I believe their week one is at Astronaut next week. I know the War Eagles were in a 6-6 struggle tonight. I'm not sure what the final was there, but 6-6 is what the last score I saw for Astronaut. Well, Jackson, you, my friend, were at Richard Dick Blake State. Caleb, did you have any input on the Vieira Palm Bay game?
Other than I loved watching Schmadeke. He scored 2 touchdowns tonight.
He's your dude, man. You've been called broadcasting Derek Schmadeke for 2 years now with Century Vieira Youth Football.
That's what I'm. And listen, Alan, how many Saturdays did I come home screaming? That was the biggest name I was screaming coming home because he is that guy. And I'm going to say it now. I think he has a chance to go down as one of the best backs to come out of Vieira.
Listen, and I'll tell you another guy I'm looking forward to watching this year from the Vieira perspective is James Olson. I'm a huge fan of James Olson and the way he plays the football game. And I'll tell you what, they got a couple of transfers there, too. They got a running back from Holy Trinity. I apologize, I can't remember his name.
Duke Butler,
Duke
2
Butler.
touchdowns tonight.
2 touchdowns. Duke Butler.
And a kick return.
Dude. He's a shifty dude, man.
Oh, he is.
He is deceptively fast. And Sean Hartman. This is a guy that went to Merritt Island to be a quarterback. It just didn't work out. And, I still think he can play the quarterback position. But here he goes. He switches position and loves what he does, contributes. To see Hartman go back to Vieira was a big thing. If you've covered these kids like we have, it's a big thing to have seen Sean Hartman go back to Vieira. It was very cool.
Absolutely.
All right, Jackson, you were at Richard Dick Blake Stadium tonight for your final. Well, I'm not going to say final. I'm sure you'll be on a game again on Brevard Sports Network. But at least in the foreseeable future, I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson crawled out of the woodwork on September the 19th when O'Galley and Coco squared up, right? At Richard Dick Blake Stadium. Listen, we went up to practice last week up at Coco, and the offense didn't look so good when we were up there last week. And I'm not saying anything anybody doesn't know. They had their good days and their bad days at practice. They had days where, they really put points on that dark side defense, and they had days where they just couldn't get out of their own way, it looked like. Here's the thing, and I think when you're talking about the Coco Tigers this year, everybody says the offense is going to need time to gel, but that dark side defense is the real deal. They got 4 lockdown DBs back there. They got linebackers. They got they got dudes. DeMarcus Manifield, D, is the new defensive coordinator there. They got dudes. It sounds like to me, and looking at the final score tonight between Coco and Bradford, that's exactly what happened. 3 field goals, right? Listen, at least you're getting points, but with the schedule Coco plays, I don't have to tell them that's going to need to be 6 points, right? So they get a win over a very, very, very good top-notch state-ranked football program. I think this is a great night for Coco.
Yeah, I think this is what they needed to do. We talked about the impact of playing a team like this as a preseason game, and I think that was a great decision by Coach Schneider and everybody to go out and play Bradford, a team that they saw in a state championship recently. Starting with the offense, I think it was solid. I don't think it didn't blow me out of the water, but I don't think the offense was bad. I think it worked how it was supposed to. Champ Smith looked solid underneath. The deep balls weren't always there, but
the timing
stuff. But his favorite target's going to be Troy Silberzon, and that's the name I've heard all offseason that surprised me, but that's the name that everyone needs to keep an eye on for Coco. I mean, he's not going to be your deep threat receiver like Javen Boggs, but he's a tight end, and that's a position that you don't see as much utilized in high school football as it once was, but Troy Silberzon's a tight end. And he is every bit of a tight end, and he was a big one tonight for them. Like the new receivers, guys like Zay Hawkins, Jamal Smith, Tank White as well, but I also like the running back.
How was Tank tonight?
Tank was good. He had a big their 37-yard touchdown where he broke 2 tackles inside the 10. I think he's their deep threat guy. If they're going to have one this year, it's going to be Tank White. But again, guys like Zay Hawkins look good as well out wide. So I think Champ did a good job of spreading the ball around. He favored Silberzon right out of the gates, but then after that it kind of spread out evenly among about 4 or 5 targets, as well as running the football more than I was used to. And they ran a split-back system a lot of the time. Jay Scott I really like, and I called it Thunder and Lightning because Cannon McCarthy's the Thunder and Jay Scott's their Lightning. I think they can run a 2-back system, which, again, Coco's not used to. And that's what I was telling Knock earlier is I think Coco is going to have to step out of their shell a little bit because now they have a good tight end. You have 2 running backs. You can't No, you can't, but you don't have to stick within the air raid offense when you can kind of work around the pieces that they have.
What that H-back stuff look like with Silverzon? And because let me tell you something about Troy. I think I put in the preview as a senior, but you look at Silverzon, right? He looks like we were just talking about Derek Schmadeke, right?
Yeah.
He's another one of my favorite all-time players from youth football, Troy Silverzon. If I had to name my top 5, he's in it, right?
Right.
To me, this is a kid. He's a sophomore. I couldn't believe it, and I know this. I almost fell out of my damn chair the other night when I was like, yeah, he is a sophomore. This kid is going D1, P4 as an H-back tight end. Because I know how relentless his work ethic is. What did you like about Champ Smith tonight, and where does he need to progress?
I think he looked good. I loved his pocket presence. That was the big thing. The offensive line is going to need a little bit of work going forward, but he was able to get out of a lot of sticky situations, throw the ball away smart, avoid contact as much as he could, and
he's got a high
penalties.
IQ.
Yeah, a lot of it was on his blind side, and he would flush out. He could feel that pressure without turning his head. Things like that I really liked. The RPO game was good. Everything underneath.
How's his release? I've heard
strong.
a lot about his. I've watched his video. You can't. When I watch a quarterback play, I may watch it a little differently than a lot of guys because I was one. So I watch footwork. I watch the shoulder, the elbow, the arm, the release, the wrist, all of it. How are his mechanics?
I liked everything underneath within the hashes. I think it was great. The easy completions, even some a little bit deep downfield, kind of comeback routes as well towards the sideline. I think the biggest thing he's going to have to do is settle down a little, and not in just the sense
Nerves.
Yeah, but also he's just got to take his time. And this is mostly deep ball stuff, but a lot of times it was off the back foot just to get it downfield. It's little things like that, but got to set your feet. Just slow down a little bit.
If I had a piece of advice for Champ Smith, it would be this. It would be, I've often told this story about Davin Widener in the kickoff classic against Merritt Island at Cocoa. Davin will tell you this. It was a new world for him. He had come from Holy Trinity to Cocoa, and he could feel. Davin said you could literally. He never felt pressure before until he played that first series against Merritt, and he wasn't very good at all. And he'll tell you that. Cocoa wanted to trade Brady Hart after the first half of the Jones game, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Brady Hart will tell you he wasn't very good. But Cocoa has that presence with these quarterbacks. I mean, you don't average 260 passing yards and 2 touchdowns a game for 8 years, okay, if you're Ryan Schneider and you don't know what you're looking at. Champ Smith's going to be just fine. And, yeah, it's going to take a couple of weeks for this offense to gel. But I think if you look at their schedule, I think it needs to be corrected by the time they go to Vero.
Yeah.
Because Vero was 30-30 tonight with Miami Norland. All right? That's how that game ended, 30-30. And Cardinal Mooney was lockstep and barrel with St. Thomas Aquinas tonight. So, it's not, it's going to be, okay? And I say Cardinal Mooney. They don't appear on Coco's schedule. But I have a feeling if Coco's going back to the state championship game, they're going to have to see Cardinal Mooney again.
Yeah.
So, and maybe the team they saw tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely in the cards, and that was kind of the inclination. That's what a lot of the talk was about, this was kind of a preview of what could come. But again, the offense was what it was, but the defense definitely deserves to be talked about. We've talked about it.
Yeah,
that was the veteran unit. They looked good tonight. The defense really didn't miss a step. I mean, I don't think Bradford didn't get a first down for the first 2 drives. Their only score of the night was on the last drive of the first half where they had just a very good 2-minute offense that just marched down the field. But besides that, they would cross the 50 and then stall or anything of that nature. Cocoa had some turnovers, put Bradford in good position, and they went backwards. Bradford didn't do too much offensively to, I guess, shake things up, but on that note, Cocoa didn't fold on anything.
A little birdie told me Bradford sat their 2 starting wide receivers in the second half tonight. Banged up a little bit, but, listen, I mean, 7 point. This is what we're going to need to see from Coco's defense. I mean, you go Vero. And listen, we mentioned Vero Beach, right? O'Galley plays Vero Beach next week. O'Galley, and I don't know any details about O'Galley other than the fact that the Commodores, they were in a close one for a while, and they end up beating Plantation 38-24 tonight.
Wow.
So that's a nice win for O'Galley. I can't wait to see how they scored their points.
I only saw one update from Alex Goins who said Xavier Corbin got in the end zone tonight for O'Galley.
Not a shock. Because when we talk about Rockledge here in a minute, there's a lot of familiar names like Mitchell that you're going to hear about, right? So just hang tight. We're getting there. But, yeah, I mean, listen, last year in the Kickoff Classic, and I think everybody at O'Galley will agree, they were terrible. I mean, their offense was stuck in mud. This is a terrific sign for what I think everybody thinks O'Galley's going to be this year, Knock.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of things. They've got a lot of ball players. They got a lot of talented football players. And the question we also had, because we knew how good the offense was, Joseph Allen is one of the top quarterbacks.
If not the best.
Yeah, exactly, in this county, and if not even more so. But defensively, where are they at? And the fact that they, Plantation's not an easy team. A lot of new faces on that defensive side of the ball this year, too.
10.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's impressive. And, again, next week, Vero goes 30-30 with Norland. But O'Galley can put up the claim 38-24 with Plantation. So congratulations to Chris Sands and all of O'Galley, because that's a lot of transfers they got in. And you know what? 38 points. They put something together in a hurry, didn't they? So congratulations to them. All right. And what I think is the game of the night is the game that I had, guys, and that is, I mean, the one thing, when you look at both of these teams' previews, right, that we did, youth, inexperience, who's going to do what, who's going to step up, who's going to play this position. Let's start with the winners in Rockledge tonight. Very, very, very young football team. JoJo Watkins, you were impressed with him in the spring game, right? Eli Mitchell, down scores. My daughter trying to reach me, right? Like you would think she would know.
Just saying, I've overheard conversations with her where you've might have reminded her.
I mean, it is Friday night in Florida, right?
Matter of fact,
she almost knocked the whole broadcast. Tap your thing. Make sure we're still good. Yep. Okay, my apologies. I'll get her afterwards. All right, anyway, back to what we're talking about. So Heritage scores a touchdown, and on the ensuing kickoff, for some reason they kicked it to Eli Mitchell, and he takes off 90 yards for a touchdown. I have no idea why. Right? But what this was tonight was unique in that this was a tale of two halves for Rockledge. They're a young football team, right? So at halftime, it was 34-14 Rockledge, and they could not be stopped. Couldn't be stopped, right? In the second half, Watkins comes out on the first play, throws an interception, and that's how the entire second half went. Not, they turned the ball over a couple times, lost an onside kick, and to Heritage's credit, who looked bad in the first half, I was getting frustrated with Jordan Padala, because I love the kid, right? I cheer for this kid constantly. I was frustrated with him in the first half, right? I was like, come on, Jordan. Yeah. But something woke up in this guy in the second half, and he started hitting perfectly timed routes, and he's got good receivers too. Listen, Nathaniel Owens, and they got good running backs. John White staked his claim to be a guy that could carry the football every down. Drayvon Lee, another guy, they've got talent, and they're trying to figure it out as well. as good as Rockledge was in the second half, you saw what happens to young football teams because it was the same thing for Heritage in the first half. They were completely a different team in the second half. They end up tying the game up, and how they do it is a punt at the end of the game, okay? There's like 40 or a minute left. Rockledge punts. It's a bad punt. It's end over end. And I apologize, but I don't have the young man's name. Catches the ball on the run on the Heritage sidelines. 50 yards down the sidelines, touchdown. Now they need 2 points. They get the 2 points, and we're tied 34-34. So they kick off, and this is where JoJo Watkins from the first half shows up in the second half. Heritage takes a roughing the passer penalty. Heritage's fans will probably tell you it was roughing the passer, okay? In fact, Heritage got away with a late hit out of bounds that in any other situation is a flag, but it was like an NHL game. They buried the whistle in overtime for this one, right? But Watkins led them down the field, making all the right decisions after spending 22 minutes not making very good decisions, but that's what you get in a sophomore quarterback, right? So finally, it's like 14 seconds to go in the game. And Watkins takes off with the football. And I'm like, oh, no. No, it was 8 seconds to go. He scrambles out of the pocket. And I'm like, I want to throw my hands up. I think you can even hear on the broadcast. I'm like, what's he doing? Like, why is he running a football, right? So he gets out of bounds with 2 seconds to go in the game. And they're at the 15-yard line or whatever it is. And here comes Michael Arbor, who last year kicked the 37-yard game-winning field goal. This one was 30. Snap is good. The hold is good. The kick is up. And, baby, it's good. Rockledge with the win.
So Anthony's watching me. I'm putting away equipment. Our game's over. Anthony's like, I'm going to go down to the field. I'm like, okay. I'm putting equipment away blindly as I'm watching this. Look, I'm a Raider alumni, so I'm out of a broadcast booth. I went to Raider mode. I'm watching the broadcast, and I watched that field goal go through, and you would have thought I was a Super Bowl winner. I mean, I was celebrating.
It was for a kickoff classic, it was an exciting. Now, what does this mean for both teams for the regular season? Well, I'm a little nervous to start for both of these teams. And here is why. Because if you play a second half like Rockledge did, or you play a first half like Heritage did, right? Against the schedules these two teams play, they'll find themselves on the wrong end of some running clocks. Yeah. And that will... that's just the way it is. That's the learning process for a young football team. So I think and John Holmes and Virgil Marshall and Brian Helton and Pat Lusk and the Loves and everybody else that's on that coaching staff for Rockledge will get it fixed for 4 quarters of football. But it's going to have to be soon because there is no margin of error on the schedule, even next week when they travel to Vieira. The defense is going to have to be better next week against that triple option, Anthony.
Yeah, I was going to say, Vieira's going to throw a lot at you, and I'm not entirely sure we saw everything from them tonight.
No.
And so they're going to throw a lot at Rockledge's defense next week offensively. And at the same time, too, that defense for Vieira, they keep everything in front of them. They're dangerous. They're tough. And
young,
Brian
too.
Field,
They're new.
Yeah.
Charlie Washington, he's got his work cut out for him, but it sounds like he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I just really like the kid that stood out to me a lot tonight was Brian Veal off the edge, and he did a lot of nice things. Now we'll see, obviously, with Rockledge's offensive line how they handle that going into next week. But I'll tell you what, that Rockledge Vieira game gets really, really interesting next week. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Well, there you go. That's your game.
Fair enough. But going to it though, Heritage has got a tough one against Titusville. Vieira's got, and Rockledge has got Vieira. You're right. There's no margin of error. These are two teams that have got two tough Week 1 opponents.
Heritage goes to Titusville.
Yeah.
And Titusville put one on Sebastian River tonight, 41-7. Defense pitched a shutout because the offense fumbled the football, and that's how Sebastian River scored. So that's going to be.
I want to see that Billingsley kid too. Like he played out.
We happen to be listening to Space's Anthony and I coming home, and Martell said, "I'm not going to tell you what he did, but people that are on Titusville's schedule, Tank Harvey. Remember, he said we're getting him the ball in space. It's dangerous for somebody."
Okay. All right. Look, I mean, we're going to find out. I mean,
right.
Mark, it's funny because we often talk about Jeff Panucci bleeds green, right? And Matt D. But if you cut Martell open,
Yep.
he's bleeding two colors, blue and gold. And that's just a fact.
Yeah.
And God bless him for it because, I mean, some people would accuse me of, maybe bleeding green and gold or orange and black. There's some in the community that would do that. But I've never had an allegiance to a program like those guys do. And I envy them for the way they feel about their schools. I really do because you love Melbourne.
Oh yeah, no, I do.
You absolutely love it. And speaking of Melbourne, Jeff Panucci with a 49. I don't know the circumstances, but your Bulldogs tonight get a 49-0 win.
Love it, and Billy Palmer and Coach Washington doing a phenomenal job offensively. They talked about that, and the defense pitched a shutout.
Yeah.
Coach Panucci, I know, and in his lead-ups to you and talking to you, he's kind of talked about where the offense might be a little further ahead than the defense. It'll be interesting to see what they've got next week, but I feel like for Melbourne, the real test is going to come when they see Merritt Island.
Let's take a look ahead. To. I'm looking at text messages. I'm getting them, boys. I'm getting them.
So what I'm hearing is you're not sleeping tonight.
Well, no, I'm looking at them, and they are funny, man. They are funny. I love it. So let me pull up next. I don't have the schedule on the screen, but we'll go over the week 1 schedule. And if we screw something up, just tell us in the comments, and I'll fix it.
People have no problem doing that.
Yeah, there's no question about that. It's week 1 for us too. Caleb, while I'm pulling the schedule up, why don't you tell everybody where you're going to be all day and night tomorrow?
All day and night tomorrow, I will be at Zach Seeley Field for Satellite Beach Scorpion youth footballs. They take on West Volusia in Pop Warner. It is 7U, not 6U. 7U starts at 8:30 in the morning is the first kickoff. And we will have all the coverage from the beginning of 7U all the way to 14U. You will hear my voice. Some may get annoyed with it.
A lot of
But
people are reaching out for us to do a lot of youth football broadcasts. But tell them who came and got us in December.
oh, yes. So in December, before Pop Warner season, the previous season is over.
The Super Bowl even was played.
Nope. There's this team called the Flagler Titans.
They came quick, didn't they?
They came, and let me be very specific here. They said, "What's your price to get you locked down for our home games?"
Built us a press box in it.
And so we said, "Here's the number, and we need somewhere high to broadcast." They said, "Done." They come back in February. They have built a scaffolding. I don't have to climb a ladder.
With steps.
They built a press box where I will have steps to walk up, not even climb a ladder. So,
Now, Alan's getting a little old to be traveling, but Alan can't wait to get up there.
but the Flagler Titans, a team that's not in Brevard,
Excited.
reached out to us first
Cocoa
before.
Youth Football reach out today for some of our dates, Vieira as well, and we're back on the youth football
Yes.
route. All right, next week, Cocoa and Merritt Island. You see it right here on Brevard Sports Network. Heritage of Titusville. You see it right here at Brevard Sports Network. I don't know the circumstances. I don't know what Fort Pierce Central looks like this year, but if that 36-16 score.
That was like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
There was no update afterwards. I don't know if there's a final for Merritt Island yet.
Heritage at Titusville next week. Mac Diesel's home debut. Probably the best game on the dock. It's O'Galley at Vero Beach next week.
Yeah.
That is a heavyweight showdown there. Palm Bay is at Astronaut. Cocoa Beach at Melbourne. Halifax Academy at Satellite. Rockledge at Vieira. You'll see it here on Brevard Sports Network. Gateway at Space Coast. Atlantic at Bayside. Legacy at Holy Trinity. Melbourne Central Catholic, who fell tonight 35-20 to Lake Brantley, is at Somerset Academy. They're not home. That's right. They're not home until the 29th.
Yeah.
All right. 8-man action next week. Merritt Island Christian, who won tonight, this is a big game next week. They play Ocala next week. And Ocala is the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. Both teams were 11-1 last year. And so for Matt Handwork and company, that's a huge game for state ranking. I believe Merritt Island Christian was 4th, and Ocala Christian was 3rd last year. Calvary Chapel will be at Real Life Christian Academy. Here on Brevard Sports Network, we tell you about all the teams. Jackson, your final thoughts on and listen, Jackson, where were you over the last week?
I was in the Bahamas.
Getting one last vacation off. So I get a text from Jackson 2 nights ago. It's like, hey, man, he was in search of some information. And I was like, dude, are you still in the Bahamas? And he's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, and you're doing prep work? And he's like, well, yeah. But that's what makes you, Jackson. And so I want to get your final thoughts before I say some final thoughts on what you think this high school football season may look like. So take your time and tell us. Let's flash forward ahead. It's December 1st. Where are we?
I think you're going to learn a lot of new names. I think it's not a lot of the turnover, the familiar faces, and that's okay. I think there's a lot of new names people need to learn, people need to pay attention, and this may not be a runaway county anymore for one team or the other. I won't say Cocoa or O'Galley yet. That'll be decided. I don't have to say that anymore. But it's going to be tight this year, and I think there's going to be a lot to be learned. I don't think the biggest thing with kickoff classics is always don't overreact, because there's some things that can be glaring, but you don't know what the game plan was. They could have been running the same play 80 times. So don't overreact yet. Next week you can start making your opinions, but I do think there's going to be a lot of competition in this county for that top spot. I do genuinely think that, and I think we're going to learn a lot throughout the season, but I think the biggest thing is learn the new names. Find these new players, because this isn't the Brady Hart, Javen Boggs County anymore. There's more people around here. There's the young stars that you're starting to see really come out. Guys like JoJo Watkins, Zion Sandy from some of those other schools, even from guys like Cocoa and guys like
Schmatickies of the world.
Exactly. Learn Xavier Corbin's name. Guys
Silverzon.
Like Troy Silverzon.
I mean, they call him Tebow in youth football.
Well, there you go.
There's a reason for that.
There's a high bar there. But
right.
Yeah, it's always fun. High school football in Brevard. And a lot of questions finally getting answered.
So here's the big one. And you know I'm going to ask it. Who's number 1 to start the season? Is it Cocoa or is it O'Galley?
It's if you're making a preseason ranking, I still don't think you can take the defending state champ off the top yet. I don't think there's a reason until they lose a game. I think the Commodores are as close as they've ever been and ever will be until September 19th. But
they beat Vero.
If they beat Vero, I could see that.
I could see that.
But both teams played very good. Statewide teams, Plantation and Bradford,
right.
They both won. So I'm going to stick with what I said a week ago. Until Cocoa loses a game, they're still number 1, but the Commodores are good. It's not, as I said, it's not a runaway county for the Cocoa Tigers. O'Galley's there, but I can't do it yet.
Knock. Sometimes you get. You and I have done this for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And you get to a point in a season where you get bored with it because it's the same thing every week. This team runs a clock on that team.
Yeah.
I don't know that's going to be the case this year, and I think that's what makes this particular season coming up so much to look forward to and so very exciting.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of teams you talked about it where it was, it's not a runaway county. There's a lot of good teams in the middle. We're maybe not necessarily talking about state championship, but we're talking, a couple of playoff wins. I'm excited to see what the middle of this county does in terms of, obviously we know the top bars. That's going to be, the O'Galleys, the Cocos, those types of teams. But the teams that are towards the middle that we don't normally talk about in that upper echelon that are going to, I think, stack wins, I think it's going to be really exciting. And, to Jackson's point, there's so many names to get to know that I think is going to be really exciting and really fun to talk about some of these really talented football players, because we saw a lot of young players play tonight, play well, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Well, you're going to get to see next week. You're going to get to see, the JoJo Watkins of the world. You're going to get to see probably two of the better young football teams in the county next week. And, I mean, listen, I think O'Galley and Cocoa are clearly the best two teams in this county as we head in. And I know people, I'm going to get texts that's going to say, don't leave Titusville. And I'm not leaving Titusville out of the mix. They're a solid third, I believe, going in to the season. I'm going to say that. I want to see Titusville and O'Galley play.
Yeah.
Okay, so just like we get to see Cocoa and O'Galley. So so I'll put Titusville in the conversation. The three best teams in the county right now, moving in to the season, are Cocoa, O'Galley, and Titusville. So we'll see what happens, but I'm very, very, very excited about this upcoming football season. Caleb, what are your thoughts?
I can't remember being so excited for a season because I think that we're going to see a lot more closer matchups in county, and I think it's going to make for a lot of fun talking points. These comment sections are about to get fun, and yeah.
I know that what I noticed about the schedules this year was a lot of the out-of-district schedules were automatically meant to a lot of coaches go out of county. That's not the case this year. A lot of coaches stayed in county to schedule out-of-district games, which I like to see.
Yes.
And I think is great. Well, Jackson, as we sit here, what I know will be your final Friday. And Bayside lost 20-12 tonight. So as we sit here on what I know will likely be your final Friday night post-game show, thank you for everything. You are, we were talking earlier tonight, you are a big reason why Brevard Sports Network sits at 50,000 followers across 3 social media platforms. Your knowledge, what you've done, who you are, your character, all of it is something that we're all, I know I'm going to miss, and I know Caleb's going to miss, and Knock and all of us. And good luck, buddy. You're going. What's your ESPN schedule like next week?
I got a shift that's going to be 2 to 6 Mondays.
Now, what is that? What do you do there? You don't know yet.
I don't know. I got an email saying you got to sign for your shift. I'm assuming I'm not going to be top dog yet, but that's
You'll be there
fine.
shortly.
But I'm excited.
You'll knock whoever's ass is sitting off the podium shortly.
Listen, it's a mere formality. He'll go through some of the stuff,
Dude,
and then
I don't give a crap if it's Al Michaels. He's done. Retire, Michaels.
Yep.
Well, that'll wrap it up tonight, and I want to thank all of our sponsors, well, our 2 sponsors for tonight's show. This is the Uberzati post-game show. It always has been and always will be. But Chrissy Lindback let me tell you something about Chrissy Lindback. She is the real estate expert. She is phenomenal. She has really stepped up to do some very remarkable things with Brevard Sports Network, and we are very, very grateful to her. And, of course, all of our sponsors. So thank you, and Caleb and Knock and Jackson, thank you all. So for all of you out there, I don't know if you saw a post I put up today. We certainly do appreciate you tuning in, but if you can take an opportunity to get to a game, support these programs financially as well and put a butt in a seat. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, the Satellite Beach Scorpions youth football against who, Caleb?
the West Volusia.
Caleb will see you starting at what time, Caleb?
8:30 in the morning.
There you go. I will not.